West Virginia, they all have either no early voting or less than what Ohio has. And they say Ohio is a model for early voting compared to our surrounding states. What's your response to that?
I would say that we were a model in 2008, but in 2012 we decided that we were going to back down to what we already had. That's the reality. If we had never had it, it would be different, but we had it in response to a poorly run election system. We put new rules in place. It worked. There's no reason to go backwards unless you have some other plan. And we can talk all day about what that may or may not be, but we had a system that works and you're trying to turn it back to something that doesn't work.
And we had international media here in Ohio, all over Columbus during that 2008 season. And of course, this is a battleground state. So there are a lot more people that are registering to vote. Therefore, more people have to have that opportunity. The lines will be a mess. Ohio is being looked upon all over internationally.
Voters First is involved with issue 2. I'm just kind of curious as to what the connection is between Voters First, you guys, and this Husted.
I think it's really about the power of the voter. What issue 2 is going to give it back to the citizens the ability to determine the districts that they live in and who they're going to vote. Right now we have a process that allows the legislators to pick their electorate as opposed to the electorate picking them. We know we have non-competitive districts. They're safe, whether you're talking about on the Democratic side or the Republican side. We want to have competitive districts so that it matters, so that we can hold them accountable. We had a legislature this year when it came to Senate Bill 5. Thousands, tens of thousands came out here on the State House lawn and said this is not good, and they still voted for it. We had hundreds and thousands of people talk about House Bill 194, the voter suppression bill. This is not good. They didn't pay attention. They weren't accountable. Why weren't they accountable? Because they know what the index is for their district. They don't have to be accountable. We need to change that system so that the people will actually pay attention. You know, with the politicians will pay attention when their constituency say, this is what we want, this is what we need. They're accountable to them, not to their political party, not to whoever is holding the pen and drawing the lines.
State poll on the results issued this weekend showed the issue was failing, and there's a lot of voters out there who don't know much about it. What does that say as we have 5 or 6 weeks left?
The language. It's all in the language. When you have an issue on a previous ballot and people are voting one way and then the same number issue comes back on the ballot, it confuses voters. The language is hard to understand. A lot of times in the paragraphs, the language gets jumbled. So people don't actually understand if they're voting for something or against it when they're voting. So the language of that issue is key. And I think that intentionally it's being misrepresented. It's hard to understand for some voters.
I would add to that, the reason why we have a ballot board is to simplify the language so that the average voter can understand. This particular ballot board decided not only that they were not going to simplify it, but they were actually going to have misleading language. And the supports that said that language was misleading, go back and do it again and make it understandable to the public, right? That's not what happened. That's part of the challenge. So I think that's a piece of it, but I think it's also important, that we get out there, those of us who advocate for this issue, who advocate for citizens to actually have the decision and choice. We've got to get out there and we've got to talk about it. And we also hope that you all as media will talk about it because, if we don't get it out there that way, a lot of people are not going to have access to what the truth of the matter is. It's a complicated topic. We know that. But as people understand what it is, they tend to move their position to say, well, yes, I would support it. We know many people, when they don't understand something, they'll just say no just because of lack of understanding. So we've got to make them understand. Unfortunately, we have a ballot board and a Secretary of State who had some other intentions than making it understandable to the voting public.
The opponents have been on the air already with anti-campaign ads. Can you see Voters First ads on television anytime soon?
I don't get to make those decisions. I know that we're out there working hard. It's a ground game. It's grassroots. It's going person to person, door to door. We're doing that, and we're hoping that that's going to work. Unfortunately, the campaigns or the commercials that are on television aren't accurate. It's always interesting to me. You see a highlight of half of a sentence that doesn't say the whole thing. So we've got to overcome that. But you do that person by person, door to door.